The courtroom was silent, the kind of silence that feels heavy, like the air itself didn't want to move. Cameras flashed outside the thick wooden doors, reporters whispered about what might happen inside, and every single person in that room knew this day would change everything. Shekinah sat at the defendant's table, hands trembling slightly as she tried to steady her breathing. Her eyes were swollen, the makeup she once wore proudly now replaced by fear and exhaustion. For months, the case had dragged on, pulling every piece of her life into the spotlight, every rumor, every friendship, every secret. And now it was finally time for the verdict. Tiny sat a few rows behind, her face unreadable, her body stiff. T.I. was on the opposite side, head bowed low, jaw tight, the look of a man torn between loyalty and disbelief. The tension between all three of them could have filled the whole building. When the judge walked in, the entire room stood. The sound of footsteps echoed like slow thunder. Shekinah closed her eyes for a moment, whispering something under her breath. Maybe a prayer, maybe a goodbye. She had been strong for so long, but deep down she knew this wasn't going to end well. She knew the weight of what was about to come. The judge began speaking, his tone calm but firm, his words slicing through the silence like a knife. Shekinah Anderson, after reviewing the evidence presented, "This court finds you." He paused. The pause was cruel, almost dramatic, but that's how justice sometimes feels, slow and painful. "The guilty on all counts." Gasps filled the room. Someone in the back screamed, "No!" before being hushed by a bailiff. Shekinah's face went pale. Her lips quivered as the words sunk in. "Guilty." It echoed in her head over and over again like a bad dream she couldn't wake from. Tiny shifted in her seat, her hand covering her mouth. "And T.I.?" He just froze. The judge continued, "You are hereby sentenced to 10 years in state prison." That was the moment the world seemed to stop. 10 years. 10 long years. The courtroom noise faded into a ringing silence as Shekinah's body began to shake. Her chest tightened, her vision blurred, and before anyone could reach her, she collapsed. Tiny jumped from her seat, screaming her name. "Shekinah!" "Oh my God!" Chaos erupted. The guards rushed toward her, one calling for medical help, the other trying to clear the crowd that had surged forward. T.I. stood frozen for a few seconds, then suddenly snapped into motion, pushing past people to get to her. Cameras flashed again from the hallway as news spread. Shekinah collapsed after 10-year sentence. As paramedics arrived and lifted her onto a stretcher, the weight of everything she had been through seemed to crash down at once. This wasn't just about a sentence. It was about betrayal, broken trust, and a friendship that had turned into something dark and twisted. Outside the courthouse, the crowd was massive. Some were angry, others crying, but most were just shocked. People had followed Shekinah and Tiny's friendship for years, from laughter and loyalty to lies and lawsuits. And now, seeing Shekinah's limp body being rolled out on a stretcher, it didn't feel real. T.I. followed closely behind, his eyes red, voice cracking as he tried to hold back tears. "That's still family," he muttered to someone beside him. No matter what happened, that's still family. But not everyone agreed. Many were whispering that this was karma, that Shekinah had gone too far. Others said Tiny's involvement in the case was what sealed Shekinah's fate. Because somewhere, buried deep in all the legal drama, there was one detail everyone kept talking about. A secret footage Tiny had submitted to the court. The footage that changed everything. Rumors had been swirling for weeks about what was on that tape. Some said it showed Shekinah lying under oath. Others claimed it proved she was covering up something far bigger, something that could have brought down more than just her. But Tiny never spoke publicly about it. She stayed quiet, even as fans turned against her. The moment that footage was mentioned in court, Shekinah's entire demeanor shifted. She had begged her lawyers to stop it from being shown. She cried, saying it would destroy everything. But once the judge approved it, there was no turning back, and when it played, the courtroom gasped. The video wasn't what people expected. It wasn't violent. It wasn't criminal in a dramatic way. It was emotional, heartbreakingly emotional. It showed Shekinah in a private conversation, speaking about money, loyalty, and Tiny in ways that made her look manipulative and dishonest. It painted her not as a victim, but as someone who had used friendships for personal gain. The judge's face hardened. The jury shifted in their seats, and T.I., sitting in the back, looked like he'd just seen a ghost. He leaned back, his hand over his mouth, whispering to himself, "Damn, not like this." From that moment, everyone knew the case was over. The trust that had once been there, between T.I., Tiny, and Shekinah, was gone forever. After Shekinah was taken to the hospital, T.I. was seen outside pacing back and forth, tears rolling down his face. Cameras surrounded him, reporters asking questions he didn't have answers to. "Did Tiny set her up?" one shouted. "Do you still support Shekinah?" Another yelled. T.I. stopped, looked up, and said quietly, "Ain't no winners in this, man. Just pain. All of us hurtin'." Then he walked away. Tiny, on the other hand, left through a side exit. She wore sunglasses and kept her head down, but even from a distance, it was clear she'd been crying too. Some fans screamed her name, others called her a traitor. She didn't respond to anyone. Later that night, social media exploded. Justice for Shekinah started trending. Clips of her collapsing in court went viral within minutes. Fans replayed it, dissected every angle, every second. Some said it was unfair. Others believed she had it coming. But deep down, everyone felt something. Because no matter what side they were on, watching someone break like that was painful. In the days that followed, more secrets began to surface. People close to Shekinah started speaking out. Old friends, ex-employees, even family members. They said she had been struggling for months, losing sleep, losing faith. That she was terrified Tiny would expose things she never wanted the world to know. T.I. tried to stay out of the spotlight, but he couldn't. He was pulled into the mess again, especially after a clip of him crying at the hospital went viral. In that clip, he's seen sitting in a chair, head in his hands, whispering, "I never wanted it to end like this." Not for her. Tiny, meanwhile, faced her own backlash. Fans flooded her page with comments, calling her cold-hearted. "You didn't have to do her like that," one wrote. "You could have forgiven her." But forgiveness wasn't that simple anymore. Tiny had been through too much. Lies, scandals, rumors. This was her breaking point. She told someone close to her, it wasn't about revenge. It was about the truth. But even truth can be cruel when it destroys someone you once loved like a sister. Weeks turned into months. And finally, Shekinah opened her eyes in the sterile silence of the hospital room. The fluorescent lights flickered above her as the machines beside her beeped in a steady rhythm. She was alive, but something in her gaze felt distant, broken. The doctors told her she was physically stable, her body had survived, but emotionally she was shattered beyond words. The nurses leaned in as she stirred, expecting confusion or fear. But instead, she whispered, her voice barely audible, "Tell them I'm sorry." No one knew who them meant. Was it T.I., Tiny, the public? Or was she apologizing to herself? For the silence, for the loyalty, for the truth left unspoken? When T.I. finally visited, it was quiet. He didn't come with a crowd, no cameras, no entourage. Just him, standing there in front of the woman who had once been family. He looked older, tired, not just physically, but spiritually. For minutes, he said nothing. Then finally, his voice low, he spoke. "I ain't here to talk about the past," he said. "I just wanted to make sure you still breathin'." She turned her head slowly, eyes filling with tears that spilled without sound. "They took everything from me," she said. Her voice trembled under the weight of betrayal. He nodded, not in agreement, but in understanding. "Yeah," he replied. "They took from all of us. It wasn't reconciliation, and it wasn't forgiveness. But in that room, there was a moment of human truth. A shared loss neither of them could fully explain. The case had done more than make headlines. It had torn apart families, destroyed reputations, and severed bonds that once felt unbreakable. Tiny, who had once been inseparable from both of them, kept her silence throughout. She turned down interviews, avoided the press, and disappeared from public life. But one night, in the quiet hours, she posted a single message on her Instagram story. Sometimes telling the truth costs you everything, but peace is priceless. That one line said it all. People still debate who was right, who was wrong, who started it. But at the end of the day, everyone lost something. And as for Shekinah, she began serving her sentence quietly, away from cameras, away from drama. Yet even from behind bars, her name still trends. Her story still spreads, and her pain still echoes. Because no matter how much time passes, people will always remember the day she collapsed, and the tears that followed from everyone who once called her family. And somewhere behind all that noise, you can still hear T.I.'s words playing softly like a broken record. Ain't no winners in this, man. Just pain.